You have got to hear what Mercedes Mone just said about All Elite Wrestling, because Mercedes Mone has made an impact in AEW since her arrival in March, as she has since become the TBS champion. She's also the New Japan Strong Women's champion, and there's been a lot of back and forth. There's been a lot of divide among the fan base when it comes to Mercedes Mone. Why? Because she's polarizing. Why? Because she gets fans talking. Why? Because she is someone that, if you are from the AEW base, I don't know if you necessarily accept her yet into the AEW family, because she came from the WWE system. She made herself a big name as Sasha Banks in WWE, and when she opted to take her ball and go home due to creative differences with Vince McMahon in May of 2022, she sat on the sidelines until January of 2023, hopping ship to New Japan Pro Wrestling, where she reinvented herself as Mercedes Mone, as Mone, right? In terms of, she wanted to rebrand herself. She wanted to establish herself as something different than what she was in WWE. So if you sit there and you say, well, Mercedes Mone is not what she once was in WWE as Sasha Banks, you're 100% right. And here's why. She's not trying to be Sasha Banks. She's trying to be Mercedes Mone. She's trying to be something different. Now, while in AEW, she's had some pretty notable feuds, including the likes of feuding with Willow Nightingale and most notably Britt Baker. That was a dream match for a lot of people, her and Britt. I thought the build absolutely delivered. Not so much at all in that match. It just didn't work. Another reason why Mercedes Mone is so polarizing is because of the fact that she doesn't cut promos like the rest of AEW does. Some will say that's a good thing. Some will say that's a bad thing. Mercedes Mone, she has struggled with her promos in AEW, although I think she has gotten better. What has not been dismissed among the AEW fan base is the fact that Mercedes Mone is one of the best wrestlers on the freaking planet. And that leads us to today's video, because while appearing on the Battleground podcast, she talked about her AEW run as well as the creative process in AEW, and this is what she had to say. My first, 7 months? It's been amazing. It's been the best so far. The best I've ever felt in my career. Having these matches and opportunities and just a chance to keep on growing and going and having these new dreams and living old dreams. My biggest dream was to be in Japan, and now I am a New Japan Strong Women's Champion. It's been the best so far in AEW because this is where the best wrestle. AEW makes sure that I still have this really competitive fire in me, and I still want to be the absolute best. I feel like I'm just getting started, really. In regards to the AEW process, she also spoke about that, because AEW is a one-man ship in all sense and purposes, just like Vinnie Mac ran it in WWE. It goes through Tony Khan. Sure, he has various people working on the creative team, but in addition to his roles as CEO and president, and then his a million other jobs that he has outside of AEW, he's also head of creative. He has his final say on the creative process, the creative direction, and this is something in which she opened up on, and I was actually surprised that A, she said this, and B, how in depth she went about it, because when it comes to the AEW creative process, she said it's been amazing. There are still sometimes I still don't know what I'm doing week to week because Tony's so busy, but once I get here, he's so easy to talk to, and if I don't like a certain thing, we can make something else work, and he's very open to creating, and he loves creating for AEW, so it's been amazing so far, end quote. Let's break that down for a minute. Sometimes I don't know week to week what I'm doing because Tony's so busy, but until I get there, everything's fine. That is a big problem in AEW right now. And this is not someone who's coming at it from the vantage point or the angle that, oh, I don't like, AEW or Tony Khan or everything like that. It's the fact that AEW has been the alternative to WWE since 2019. And the more that this company grows and the more years that go by, the worse and worse the actual creative is, because storylines a la MJF Adam Cole does not make sense. Why? Because Tony Khan does week-to-week booking, just like Mercedes Mone said. That's a problem. You need to be able to, and this is what Triple H has done so well, you need to be able to collaborate these storylines, and you need to be able to project and plan out and work backwards to these storylines and make them work. With Mercedes Mone, I thought that they did that with her and Britt Baker. I thought they did that pretty well, right? Britt Baker was a very established AEW talent, had been since 2019 or has been. She was a former women's champion. Mercedes Mone is the latest signing by Tony Khan. She's the latest big fish that he has gotten, right? Following, and you can go down the list from Chris Jericho to Jon Moxley to Bryan Danielson to CM Punk to Adam Copeland to Christian Cage to Okada, Will Ospreay, Swerve Strickland, Samoa Joe. I mean, you can go down it, right? But in terms of female talent, I believe Mercedes Mone is their biggest female signing thus far. And that's a positive, and that's a good thing, because Mercedes Mone, she does bring star power to the AEW division and the company and the women's division. She is not just one of their biggest stars in the women's division. Mercedes Mone is one of their biggest stars in the entire company. If you see what they've done with her thus far, outside of Willow Nightingale and outside of Britt Baker, right? Like, her booking hasn't been necessarily the most consistently greatest of books, right? But they kept on going. I think her connection with Camille as her heavy, I think, has been a brilliant move on Tony Khan's part. I hope to see more of that, and I think we will. When it comes to Tony Khan's vision, I think he desperately needs someone to come in there and help him with creative. I think he needs to hire someone to either tell him, hey man, let's kill off this ROH brand, or hey man, stop booking ROH because something's got to give. You want to work out all these other jobs outside of AEW, and then, oh, by the way, you want to micromanage AEW? It's not working, right? They are surviving. They're not necessarily thriving in recent years. And that's a shame. And their television ratings and their attendance and overall interest has not only it's not only reflected that, but there are key metrics and there are key indications of just that. And that's a shame, because you want AEW to thrive. You want them to succeed. You want them to be successful. You want them to be profitable. You want them to be able to pay talent and staff the wages in which they can make a great living at. You want AEW to succeed. And I just hope that AEW sees that, understands that, and starts to make and implement changes in which will help its talent roster, its staff, and more importantly, its fan base to connect and help grow this promotion.